Is she not there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you can just control the sound.
Okay.
I don't know.
It's down here.
It's
The line works on Fridays anymore, doesn't it?
Doesn't.
Go. Hi, ladies. My name is Michael Heath Behrens, and I am a student at Arkansas Technical University pursuing my degree in criminal justice. Since August of 2012, I have had the extreme pleasure of shadowing the WorkbridgeNWA program for a two-semester course for the Capstone. And basically what that means is that I shadow an organization, I assess its strengths, weaknesses, and then pick one of those needs of attention, do an experiment on it or study it, and then offer recommendations. Over the last year, or last several months, what I have done is, from what I understand, these individuals, you all work to find gainful employment. And one of the ways of doing that is through resumes and all of that. Well, appearance isn't something that needs to be addressed. Research has shown that professional clothing makes or breaks the interview. That is not an issue. But the issue becomes whether or not hair appearance plays a factor in an interview. And what should the organization, if anything, be done about it. So that was my study. So the purpose of a project was to determine whether or not hair plays a factor in the interview, and determine what kinds of hairstyles are inappropriate if hair does play a factor, and what actions, if any, should the WorkbridgeNWA program take. So how did I do this? I sent out anonymous surveys, email, postage paid returns, envelopes, to well over 100 businesses. I got back 32. And 2 of them I couldn't use because they were not filled out completely, so the data will be relied on 30 surveys. And then the second part was from August to February. I observed on random days, which is why I was there shadowing, seeing the number of individuals that had the inappropriate hairstyles based on the responses from the businesses. So, the survey was broken down into 4 sections. Part 1 was the type of business that they have, and I'll go into these in more detail in just a minute. Part 2 was a statement that I'll show the exact statement and how much they agreed or disagreed with that statement. Then the part businesses state what hairstyles are inappropriate for each gender for a job interview. And then the last part was for comments and a thank you for their time. So, type of industry was the first part. They selected one of these 8 industries: retail, grocery, light or heavy industrial, hospitality / hotel / restaurant, clerical / administrative / accounting, medical / dental / vision, education, gas stations, or other. This is the statement, quote, "In your business, hairstyles do play at least a partial factor in whether or not an individual is hired." They were supposed to select only one of the 4 options: strongly agree, somewhat agree, somewhat disagree, or strongly disagree. And then part 3 was to decide which of the following hairstyles are inappropriate for job interviews. Short hair, and I gave different definitions for men and women on what defined as short hair in just a minute. For men, it was at or above the ears for short hair, and for women, at or above the shoulders. That was the operational definition. Long hair, below the ears or below the shoulders for men and women respectively. Unnatural colored highlights, other than blonde, unnatural blonde highlights, hair extensions, spiky hair / mohawks, and to specify if they have any other hairstyles they deem inappropriate. And again, one selection for men, one selection for women. And then, again, businesses were thanked for their time, and they left some, and any comments, and I did get some. So, and then from August 12th to February 2013, I went in on random days and looked and observed based on what the businesses responded to inappropriate hairstyles. So, let me show you my findings. Okay. So, hairstyles play a factor in being interviewed. I labeled these STA for strongly agree, SWA for somewhat agree, SWD for somewhat disagree, and STD for strongly disagree. Let's take a look at the data. Retail grocery. Somewhat agree, 60% of the retail grocery agree to a degree that hair plays a factor. Industrial, 75% agree. Uh-oh. Okay. And again, I apologize for how this came out. I tried my hardest, but hospitality, hotel, restaurant. Oh,
I think somebody where you can see it bigger.
oh, there we go. Yeah. There we go. Much better. All right. Yes. Hospitality, hotel, restaurant. 80% agree that hair plays a factor in an interview. Administrative, 100. Education was more divided. It was 50-50. And then I had some other, I didn't have any gas stations or any medical to respond to my surveys, so I didn't include that in the data. Unfortunately, I don't have any data on those. But all the others, like logistics and real estate and sales, 100%. So let's break this down by the totality of the businesses. There's my graph. Overall agreement, half strongly agree that hair will make or break an interview. 27% somewhat agree. Only 13% somewhat disagree, and only 10% strongly disagree. That's a total of 77% say that hair plays a factor in an interview, over 3/4. I did a T-distribution two-tail test to determine the probability of it come out by chance and level of significance. I came out with a .04. In other words, 4% chance that my data came out by chance, or my data is wrong. So let's break this down by inappropriate hairstyles. Men is pretty diverse on what is an inappropriate hairstyles. So as we can see, mohawks has this color, the more purplish color, is the #1 inappropriate hairstyle. Do not send men to a job interview with a mohawk spiky hair. A lot of others included long hair, braids, non-blonde highlights, some blonde highlights, and hair extensions. Those were pretty low for out. Out of all those, only short hair, which again was at or above the ears, was the only hairstyle out of all the industries that was not deemed inappropriate. And industrial, if you'll look, has all of them. The only hairstyle that they find appropriate is short hair. So, whereas hospitality, hotel, and restaurants seem to have the least restrictions. But these, I didn't go into high class versus fast food versus formal. I didn't break that down. I just sent it out to random businesses of all degrees and calibers. So that's all I did. So further study might be warranted to figure out what kinds of restaurants, what inappropriate hairstyles. That might be interesting for further study. Now women's. Women's are a little bit more forgiving. Okay. So, but still, mohawk spiky hair was the #1. Education had the most restrictive, if for women. They want women to be more professional than that. Again, clerical, administrative, hospitality, industrial, grocery have the least. So, but again, high class versus middle class location, that could be up for further study. But again, short hair was the only one that did not be deemed an inappropriate hairstyle. And again, short was at or above the shoulders. Now let's look at some comments. I had quite a few comments because this is a polarizing topic. And I actually had a few of them say that they actually had to think about their hiring practices about this. So it was so some of them actually took the time to do this. This man I actually talked to personally. He's a general manager at the Hampton Inn, and he wrote a very long front and back comment. I wish I could have posted the entire thing. It was awesome. But basically he says, and I quote, "Our guests judge our staff on the appearance almost immediately, and that sets the stage of how they perceive our servant." So in other words, it's all about what the customer wants to see. And then I had a retail grocery say very similar, that it's the first impression that makes the issue. Because without customers, no business, no employees. So, therefore, it is important for businesses to have individuals with people that you want to see, how you want to see them appear. But, again, this was a polarizing thing, and I did have some disagreements. I had another hospitality restaurant person. Again, these are anonymous. I don't know who. The only reason I knew that one, because he actually left me a number and he wanted me to call him. So I did. So, the hospitality restaurant manager says he doesn't judge anyone by appearance. Everyone deserves a chance that is willing to work. And that is true for some industries. But based on the data, that's more the exception, not the rule. In an industrial one, this one was my favorite and most polarizing. "We focus on hiring the most qualified individual to perform the job, not their hairstyle." Okay, fine, that's great for you, but as you can see based on the data, that is more the exception, not the rule. So, observations. I noticed from August to February, 4 individuals in a given month not have the appropriate hairstyles based on the definition of this. So that's 4 individuals that are at great risk of not even getting a fair job interview just based on their hair. And last time I checked, the purpose of this program, one of its functions, is to get gainful employment. So, sad, but based on the data, that's what happens. So in summary, over 3/4 of the businesses surveyed say that hair plays a factor in a job interview. The t-test is below 0.05, which indicates statistically that it is significant. Therefore, businesses do factor hair appearance in whether or not an individual is hired. Now let's get to what the WorkbridgeNWA should do about this, or recommendations. Secure the individual professional attire for the job interview. From what I have learned, if an individual doesn't have access to a suit or to a nice dress, that the thrift store may have some things, but it's not there. We need a more stable policy on getting individuals a nice professional attire. Again, the reason I didn't research that any further, because it's been researched already. It has been laid out, so there was no reason for further study of that. So, and it should be up to vocational rehab instructors like Shauna to make that determination of whether or not they have a professional attire and a professional haircut. If they do not, then WorkbridgeNWA needs to make arrangements to get these individuals the appropriate attire and the appropriate haircut before the job interview. And if they cannot afford it, my recommendation is the WorkbridgeNWA should work to cover that cost. So, I
I heard from, because one of the individuals asked me what I'm doing there. And I explained what the purpose of my project was. And they go, oh yeah, someone had an interview and they didn't have money for it, so I spot them a few bucks so they could go get a haircut. These individuals don't make a lot of money. I mean, they don't work, hence why they're in employment. Why should another individual have to use their very sparse cash to get an individual haircut? There are two methods that I know. One is solicit donations for free or reduced cost haircuts for the individual. Search and find the most affordable salon search and find the most affordable salon and pay. You can negotiate a contract if you do this option, you can contract with a salon possibly for a reduced rate. So let's go through the pros and cons of each of these. Let's go through the soliciting donations. Pros is low cost to the organization. All you're out is the mailings, phone calls, etc. to solicit the donations. And it's tax deductible last time I checked for charity. You can deduct it as a charity expense, as a business expense. And there are beauty schools in this area. You might be able to contract with, work out a program deal with them. Again, further research would be need to know on that. However, there are disadvantages to this. Hard economic times, less charity. Right now, although we're recovering, we're still at near 8% unemployment. Underemployment is significantly higher, so people are hoarding all whatever few dollars that they have. There are no guarantees that you can find a salon that's willing to work with you. And therefore it can cause delays. This is a fairly urgent situation here, because the sooner you get these people to gainful employment, the less you have, I'm not trying to sound callous here, but the less resources you have to dedicate to this individual. But on the more important side, that means that they can start getting into the workforce, getting to financial independence, and getting them as tax-paying citizens. So this is a fairly urgent situation of trying to get these individuals haircut. So the second option is actually paying for the haircut. The pros here, you're done. Most salons have same-day appointments. The longest I've ever had to wait for a haircut is 45 minutes. So, but of course, I get a shave, three blade, maybe a shampoo if I need one. So, and I'm done. So, again, should still be able to use this as a tax deduction. I'm not an accountant, but it should be qualified as a business-related expense. And you don't have to make the time and the effort and the solicitations to get a salon at a reduced rate, or to find a charity. Now, it is possible to engage in a contract with them. Business arrangements are always done. So you could do that to minimize this cost. The only real con side is you do have to pay out of pocket, and the average is $12 to $25 depending on the gender and the facility that you go to. My personal recommendation is paying for the direct, based on the reasons I said. It is an urgent situation, and only 4 individuals in an average month, that's only $48 to $100. But again, that increases significantly their likelihood of getting a job, getting financial independence, and becoming tax-paying citizens. So, and again, let me reemphasize, you can contract with a salon, or most likely for a reduced rate. Now, there's also one more thing. I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of money. But one thing that makes me feel like $1 million is a good haircut. I don't know about you, but whenever the hair is done right, again, a 3 on the blade, and I'm happy. I feel $1 million. These individuals don't have a lot going for them from what I've observed. Sadly. I don't know about you, but if we give these individuals a haircut that need one, doesn't that make them feel like $1,000,000 too? Wouldn't that make them feel a little better? If nothing else, let them have that experience to get a good haircut if they're down on their luck. Questions, comments, problem? Thank you very much.